All right.
Alexa, stop.
All right. Sorry about that. Anyway, I'm going to start today with a question for you. What makes businesses fail? It's an important question because if you look at the data, 95% of all businesses fail or out of business after 10 years of being in business. Only 5% are still standing after 10 years. How come? Take a moment, just jot down a couple of answers. How come you think businesses fail at such a high rate? So I know I've asked other business owners this question, and typically I'll get answers like they ran out of capital, they didn't have the money to do the marketing they needed to do, or they didn't have the resources to hire the right staff, is that, or they didn't have the resources to keep their inventory in stock, whatever it might be. It, you know, my my bet is several of you came up with the same type of answers, and I will say that those answers all have something in common, and basically they all revolve around they didn't have the resources to keep their business running. And I will say to you that not having the resources is a symptom of the problem. The reason I say businesses fail is a lack of resourcefulness. And as you know, today's topic is about resourcefulness. And what you find, the reason I'll say that is the 5% of the businesses or the business owners that make it typically have all the same challenges that the other businesses that failed had, lack of resources or whatever, yet they're still standing. So I would say resourcefulness is a vital skill that you need in business, as well as a vital life skill. So if you're not a business owner, I think this talk would still be relevant to you. If that makes sense to you and you're in alignment with what I'm putting out here, now the bigger question then is, how do you maintain your resourcefulness when you're faced with significant challenges or lack of resources, which we all encounter as we go through business? So today, I am going to address two key things that will develop your resourcefulness. And those two are mastering your health and mastering your emotional fitness. So I'm going to start first with mastering your health. I'm going to spend less time on that one. I'm just going to provide a little bit of data on that. Mastering health is something that I see business owners vastly underestimate, and as a result, it's commonly ignored among business owners. Yet, I think you can agree when you feel physically great, it's much easier to stay resourceful versus when you're fatigued. Just check in with yourself for a second. When you're when you're feeling great versus not, how you react to the challenges. Because when you feel great, you have more life force to you to deal with the challenges that are coming at you. And that again is a whole topic in itself. And if that's not a strength of yours, is I would recommend a book called Life Force, which has the latest research on how to maximize your health. And I'm a health nut. In my humble opinion, I think it's the best book out there. A ton of information in there. Or the other option you have, if it's not an area of your strength, just message me and I'd be happy to do a call with you and give you some keys on what you can do to strengthen that area. So I'm going to spend more time today is on the second key about staying resourceful, and that is building your emotional muscles so that you can stay in a really resourceful place no matter what challenges you face, whether in business or in your life. So um, this topic alone on the emotional piece, I could spend hours and hours on, and but for today, my goal is I'm going to break it down into two major chunks and make it more simple and give you something you can walk away with and use. So, so the two chunks on staying emotionally fit to stay resourceful are what you focus on and what you make things mean. Mastering those two pieces will significantly upgrade your ability to stay resourceful. So what you focus on, we'll start with that first. Basically, what you focus on is what you feel. So if you're a business owner during the pandemic and you're focused on how all these restrictions are cutting out your revenue, eliminating your customers, you'll tend to be devastated or end up in a really unresourceful place. And and I bet a lot of business owners that focus that way are no longer in business. And on the other side of it is business owners who focused on, well, how can I change my business model so I can adapt to the current environment and challenges being presented? They stayed resourceful. And I had several of those business owners, and not only were they resourceful, they ended up growing their business during the pandemic. So then the question becomes, what determines what you focus on? How come some business owners typically focus on the challenge and put themselves in an unresourceful place, and some focus in a way that empowers them? How come? So there are a number of things that can influence where your focus goes. One of the more common ones is your environment. If you hang out with people whose primary focus is on how the pandemic, was devastating businesses and you lost revenue share and customers, your focus was going to be influenced in that direction and becomes a habit. Um, so so again, or if you're watching the news every night and they're telling you about how businesses are failing, that again will influence your focus. So but the other bigger piece that I believe has more power over and more influence on you as far as where you focus are the questions that you ask yourself. And typically these are questions that have become habitual in you. And so what I will say is some people are business owners, they habitually ask unresourceful questions, whether it's a pandemic or not. And some business owners habitually ask resourceful ones. So then the question is, well, which one are you? And so a lot of you know. If you don't know, then what you want to do is maybe take a day or two and throughout the day, just check in with yourself and have a journal and jot down and check in and say, what questions am I asking myself in this moment? And write those down. And at the end of the day, evaluate, are the questions you're asking yourself, are they going to lead you to be resourceful or unresourceful? Another way to do it is, or just sit down and just ask yourself under stress, what are the habitual questions I ask myself? And again, that will tell you. So if you discover you're someone who habitually asks unresourceful questions, oh, I'm sure that's not you. Uh, again, you've got to have a plan. And so the plan is to extract yourself from that habit. The simple thing in today's call I'll give you is you want to write down, so you're being preemptive. So when crisis happens or challenges happen, you want to be preemptive and have a list of questions that you write out that would put you in a resourceful place. You know, sort of like questions like, how is life happening for me, not to me? Again, that's a question that will put you in a resourceful place. How can I take advantage of this particular challenge or crisis? In the long term, will this really even make that big a difference? You you have to establish a practice of asking these questions when bad things show up. And it has to be a habit. Eventually, if you keep doing it, then that becomes more of the default questions you're going to ask. So the second big piece on the building the emotional muscle is, I said, you have to master meaning. Now, I left less time for this, but I'm going to go through some keys. Is what you have to realize is our brain is a meaning maker. And as soon as something happens, our brain makes up a meaning. And what you have to be is you have to be more conscious of what meanings you're making up, just like you have to be more conscious of what questions you ask yourself. So if some challenge happens in your business or your life, and the first meaning you come up with is I'm screwed, yeah, you're going to be unresourceful. So again, you've got to cultivate this practice. So the other piece of not only just being conscious of what meaning you're coming up with, you also have to challenge them. And this is where you have to be, you can't, I call it like lazy mind management. If you're lazy in your mind management, whatever meaning shows up, you're going to take, and your mind's going to run with that. But if you are more conscious and put more energy through this, you're going to take the time and stop and go, wait a minute, something just happened. What meaning am I making about it? And if it's a disempowering meaning, then, like I said, you have to challenge it and ask, well, is that meaning I came up with, is that really true? These questions are a way to disrupt your automatic pattern. If you go to unresourceful questions automatically, then you might ask, and these are 3 questions I always ask when I'm working with clients when they come in, and I know they've put a negative meaning or unresourceful meaning to something, so that I can get them out of that place. Is I'm asking, but different ways. But basically, I'm asking, is what you came up with, is that a distortion? Oftentimes, when bad things happen, we get emotional and we distort what actually is going on, and we make it worse than it is. Or the other common one is we tend to generalize. And if this one bad thing happened, now everything is bad. And so you want to ask that question, am I making a generalization? I hope this makes sense. If not, text me or message me. Or the other one that happens when you come up with an unresourceful meaning is we tend to delete all the good things that are happening in our business and focus just on that one bad thing. And so you want to check in, am I deleting everything that's positive? And if so, what am I deleting that is positive? Again, it's a way to disrupt the way the mind's going to take you. And so again, you can't be lazy in your mind management. You've got to be proactive in your mind management. And it's not that hard. It just takes time and a consciousness to do this. As I mentioned, if you let the mind run your show, it's going to drag you down into an unresourceful place. So again, doing these simple exercises doesn't take any rocket science. It just takes the time and commitment. Will definitely put you more in charge of your mind management and not fall victim to what the mind is going to default to. It does take a little work, but the value is immeasurable because it allows you to stay resourceful, and you need to stay resourceful when bad things happen in your business. Otherwise, you're going to be out of business. So anyway, hope you got value out of it today. If you have questions, any comments, please comment. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you on our next live stream. Thank you.